What is happening,
bros?
people in Adventureland?
Don't mind us. We're just getting a candle here.
Sorry, we're cracking the
Setting
candles
mood.
out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Setting the mood.
Wow, dinner for two? What?
It's been a long time since we told a story.
I
you
know.
Just not like anything crazy. Just
And all the people out there,
dude,
all fans.
We've had so many, like millions of people listening. Like everyone is like piling in the comments right now.
Shout out your favorite Katy Perry song.
Anyways,
Wow, tough crowd.
yeah.
Wouldn't want to be them. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways,
Well, you're lost.
I had the
dummies.
comments turned off anyways.
Don't subscribe to us. Just get off this channel.
What are you even doing here? Just leave.
Sorry.
Anyways,
broke character.
we're gonna tell a story, a very random improv story from this thing called the Storymatic. It's a very
The machine.
This thing is a machine. Big
It has
time.
radars to detect incoming stories.
Yes, it shoots. It catches them with a net.
Right, and puts them in our ear radars, our nets for sound per se.
Exactly, per se. One could say.
One could say that we have net ears.
We
One could say that we catch the sound with our nets.
One could say that we have computers in our heads, between our ears, that decipher these stories from the Storymatic
Into food.
into food for your ears.
In food for thought to your brain. One could say that your brain is just food.
And, oh dear.
For thought.
Oh, for thought.
Oh, right. For the kids.
So, we have a special story, and I just tried out this chat thing on the screen. So
high tech.
if you ever want to add something to the story,
Or give us your phone number.
no, just add something to the story. Just comment on the chat, and we should get it. So okay, so the story. Story is so random. We don't know what it's actually going to be.
Let's
called.
turn the machine on.
Yes, let's
Ready?
turn.
I'm gonna turn it on. Ready? Oh, there's a story.
There's a story. You just caught one.
I did in my
Oh,
throat. I caught another one.
I got one too.
Too many stories for the thoughts.
Okay. So the story is saying there is a new parent who is also a patient.
Oh, congrats. Where's the money?
So once upon a time, there was a married couple.
Aw.
The husband's name was Larry.
Right. And the wife's name was Shmenga.
Shmenga and Larry.
Shmenga and Larry.
They were a very happy couple.
Except for one thing. They hated each other.
Yes, and
But they loved each other.
they hate each other, but they loved each other in the worst of ways.
It was the best of time. It was the worst of the times.
And so there was one day that... Wait, what was the girl's name?
Shmenga.
Shmenga was pregnant.
Bum, bum, bum.
So she was in the hospital room about to give birth when the doctors noticed something very strange on her right toe.
Yes, this story is all about how the scar came to be.
So after the child was born...
They initially had the fear of it getting old. It's just, it could die tomorrow, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so...
It gets old. It grows up real fast.
So they all had a bunch of discussions with the nurses, the doctors, the husband, the wife.
The therapist.
And that's when the doctors told Larry about this old man, pirate man, that lived in the Caribbean.
Really?
And they said that if you were to maybe reunite with him
On his fishing boat.
on his fishing boat, there's a certain fish
Right.
that if you would blend it up and feed it to your child, the child would never grow old.
Really?
And so
And that's legal?
that's but a lot of scientists
You just
don't
have to
want
catch
to
it.
talk about it.
They don't talk about it because they're hunting for it.
Exactly.
Why do you think they all vacation to the Bahamas?
Exactly.
It's not for the golf.
No.
And it's not for the pina coladas.
Yeah, they taste horrible.
It's for the fish.
There's a certain
fish
fish, and everybody wants to make you think about other things, like the beaches there or something.
It's all a distraction.
Yeah, like, come on, like the
reality is an illusion, people.
Yeah, why would I go to the Bahamas when the Hawaiian beaches are exactly the same?
Exactly.
But even better.
But they're also the worst.
I hate them.
But I want to go there.
Exactly.
If you guys want to donate money, you know, our bank account is... Oh, wait, never mind.
Oh, please, no.
John's bank account is...
So, anyways, but what they realized when they got to the Bahamas is that this child that was born was a person who needs to be protected.
Because he had the secret of youth. And if the doctor minions ever found out that he was youthful, they would come to his house and force him to grow up to become a bad driver. And, I mean, there's nothing worse than that.
Because, yeah, I mean, you can live forever, but if you're a bad driver, you could kill yourself.
You could die.
Because
all that for nothing.
They did that because they don't want the secret to get out. So anyone who finds out that secret, they always want to make them a bad driver or get them killed early because they don't want that fish.
The younger the better.
Exactly.
Because then, once they eat their first frozen slice of wedding cake, the power really just comes out there for display. For
Yeah, every birthday.
Every birthday, and the apparitions start to appear that tell them about the power they have.
Yeah, and so the younger they kill them off.
Right.
But at the same time, though, when you think about it, how can you be a bad driver when you're so young? They make the parents a bad driver.
It's a baby stroller. You're a bad driving. See, the baby drives the stroller around, and he's like, and he crashes into fire hydrants on purpose.
So they got the fish, came back to the Americas. Every birthday there was these apparitions that were telling them a story, and that story was about the one that got away.
The one that got away.
And so this whole time, this child was growing up, hearing about the one that got away, a.k.a.
his
the person in a wheelchair.
He just couldn't catch him because he had little baby legs.
Yeah, this person in a wheelchair also ate of the youthful fish.
Right, but that was his last night in the old home. Yeah, because he was out of there, right? Because he was youthful now. He turned back into an old baby. He still had the cane. He had like a baby face and an old man's body.
Oh dear.
It was kind of weird. Ew.
Yeah, nobody really liked him. That's why he got away, because he was trying to run away.
Well, good riddance. He also won the lottery. So good for him.
He was a lottery winner. Also, he was the person nobody will talk to. Because if you think about it, he's an old man with a... I hear the angels.
They're coming for me. Elizabeth.
He was an old man, baby face, won the lottery. Who would want to talk to someone like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, every day he'd go on the sidewalk and he would chalk, "Will you be my friend?" with a W, and people would write no. And then they pour like vinegar on his head. So that kind of hurt.
But no, and so because that happens so much, he learned to be like super fast on his wheelchair. That's how he got away.
That's how he got away from all the haters.
Yeah.
He actually he's so fast he became a miner. Like not a baby. He's a coal miner.
Oh.
He would wheel so fast he'd ram into the rocks.
He's a baby face old man, but he's just an apparition.
He's just this whole story. Apparition.
So hold on, this whole apparition was telling Larry and Shmenga's child about this apparition of this old man. And so then the child grew up, and it was his first day on the job.
What was his job?
His job was mining.
Oh, he mined.
Yeah, because the apparition spoke to him.
And so that's where he met the old man again. Because but he couldn't get away this time because there was a cave.
Exactly. There's elevators and mine carts and different things.
And the one thing he needed was a talking doll.
That's the only way the old man could talk to him.
If you can talk the doll at the old man, his voice gets captured in it, and then you can sell it to him for his secret.
And that's when he learned about the old man, the old but young man, that the old but young man was royalty. And he was sending this apparition to talk to him.
Tell him, hey, you're royal.
Yeah.
That's why whenever you get a ghost, kids, remember, it's because you're a prince or princess.
Yes, you come from the line of the princes of the old times.
So much reckless enthusiasm that it just makes me want to get the worst haircut ever.
Yes. Amen. So he was in the mine. He was mining, and he eventually quit because the old man was kind of creepy, actually, and that's why nobody liked to talk to him.
Yeah, and he kept carting away every time.
Exactly. And so he got a different job at Chick-fil-A. But every time he would bring out the raw chicken, there was the smell that would bring it all back.
To what?
To the time where he was mining with the old but young man.
Because the old young man smelled like raw chicken.
He did. He never showered.
Sounds like he's a bit of an exaggerator.
Yeah, he was. What's his name? By the way, the child that's now a man?
Well, his name was the person who's been stood up. The one that got away. He was waiting for him.
No.
At the docks.
The child.
Oh, the child? Baluba?
Baluba. Okay, Baluba's the child. Okay, so that's when Hurricane Katrina happened, and they had to evacuate Chick-fil-A. The mine flooded, and the old but young man died from drowning because he couldn't swim. And he had a mining wheelchair, which is like all made of iron. He knew because
all the radios picked up stations from the past and told the story. This is actually 3 days ago this happened.
Yeah, three days ago, all the stories picked up this.
And so Baluba had 3 days of grief.
Yeah.
He couldn't be comforted.
Yes, and so Baluba then, he decided to start a TV program,
right?
To try to tell the world about this fish, about this man,
and about he actually believed in fairies, so he wanted to tell everybody, fairy godparents.
And but there was one thing about it, is that nobody watched his TV show because they all thought he was crazy.
Y'all are crazy. You don't watch this stuff. It's so good.
Exactly. Like, if you're literally talking about the key to the youthful life,
I know.
Why wouldn't anyone watch? But
that's like the secret to win any beauty contests.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, having like a young man's body your entire life,
but an old man's head, there's nothing better.
No, it's opposite.
Oh, it's opposite.
Young man's head with old man's body.
Old man's leg. Just don't have old man leg, kids.
Yeah, old man legs are the worst.
Old man arms are the best. You can get like a liver spots.
Ew.
Yeah, kids, spice up life, you know.
So, anyways, nobody was watching because, of course, the elites are controlling the media.
Those darn elites.
And they didn't want the secret to spread. So, all of a sudden, the FBI showed up at Baba Baluba's house, because now he owned his own house. And they took all of his identifications.
Even the certification to be a gravedigger.
But they didn't realize that in taking away all of his identifications, they took away his driver's license too. So now their whole plan of him being a bad driver to kill himself
backfired.
It backfired because they took away.
This is what happens when you get carried away.
Exactly, and that's when Baluba decided to become an imposter to try to impersonate these other people. And so that he could finally drive and try to get his message out.
His message to the people.
Yeah.
Which was, his message was, chicken.
He worked at Chick-fil-A?
He wanted people to eat the chicken, because it was his last day at the job there. And so he needed to get practice at this imposter business, but he couldn't do people yet. So he decided to stick with, he tried to pretend to be unclaimed luggage.
Going to the Sahara.
To see the camels, because they could give him advice on how to become elite.
Exactly. He needed an elite heavy camel.
In his life.
Because without an elite heavy camel, I mean, how are you going to take on the powers that be?
You don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
You don't even know their power.
Yeah, but then when he got there was some confusion because he didn't speak Camelese.
Yeah, in fact, all he did was he went and offered them a box of teeth.
And the camels wouldn't accept the box of teeth.
They wanted monkeys.
They wanted monkeys.
They wanted those darn monkey heads rolling.
Those cursed monkeys. So, what he ended up doing was sending letters to the president of Africa to request camels for sacrifice. But all of his letters were returned because he wrote president instead of president.
Oh, yes, the classic rookie mistake. So he realizing he can't get the president's approval, he needed a plan. And so he just happened to have a box full of kittens.
Oh, yes.
And he decided, let's just dress up the kittens as monkeys and use them for the sacrifice. Maybe they won't notice.
Yes, and so they dressed up all of the box of kittens, and they knocked on the door at 2 a.m. Whose door? The president's door.
He needed business done now.
Yeah. Business needed to get done.
You need to do your job.
So he was an imposter. So he impostered himself to be a salesman of these kittens.
Right. And it was perfect for him because he was the last person anyone would expect to be a salesman because he was a horrible driver.
So the president opened his door.
His lips.
And his lips spoke words.
I thought you were going to say lips there.
So
come into my door with his lips.
He wondered what the deal was because the president of Africa, he really likes deals. You know?
He loves them, yeah.
It is any deal. Like, actually, a known fact about Africa is they have the most thrift stores in the world.
I went to at least 3 of them.
Anyways, the story. So he loved the idea of these kittens, so he bought all of them. And then that's when he found out who Baluba was.
And he was enraged.
Yes.
He called in his police officers to grab him and cart his butt off to jail. But Baluba, he was very skilled in the art of elite heavy camel foo. So when the police came in, he used his kicking feet and hump to launch the guy out the window. But when he grabbed him, he accidentally slapped him in the butt, and he realized he shouldn't have touched it.
Ew.
Because he got tased. It's a mistake. A big time mistake. And there was no place to hide.
And that's when Baluba finally beat up the guards with his elite camel knees. And he became a preservationalist.
That's right.
So he wanted to save the elite camels because they were becoming extinct. So then he tried to buy a ton of land in the desert to grow these elite heavy camels on farms.
From the ground.
Yes.
So that they would maybe one day be recognized by the zoo animals and they'll let them in.
Yeah, because, okay, the whole reason why elite heavy camels became elite is because they were left out. No, they were left out.
Oh.
They were left out from the zoos because...
Yeah. That's so mean of them.
Yeah.
How could you guys do that, you zebras and your lions?
I know, right?
There's a lion?
There's nothing... Hello! Always lying to us?
I think this guy should get revenge on those lions.
So what they did was he went to that zoo and popped every tire of the little four-wheelers. And
all the Jeeps that the rhinos used to go golfing.
Yeah. He
couldn't use them anymore.
He gave them all flat tires.
And they were so mad. They decided that they would catch this guy by putting on a fake talent show. one where if he received 1/2 of the ripped love letter, he would be an audible thump on a car.
And so what he did was he implanted a seed of thought into the zoo owner's mind of the talent show to be the owner of a hot air balloon and do stunts on it. But what he didn't know is that the balloon that he had bought was from Balupa. And it was rigged to blow up in the air.
Oh, and it blew up. In fact, a famous former child star would have just said, "It glowed in the dark."
And so the glow-in-the-dark balloon from what the child star would say, he went up during the talent show, but the GPS in his hot air balloon was taking him the wrong way.
Oh no, it sounds like an equipment malfunction.
Exactly, and he was going, instead of above the zoo, he was going towards the desert where the elite heavy camels were.
Oh no. Sounds like things aren't going well.
And that's when there was a declaration of war between the elite heavy camels and this zoo owner doing a talent show in a hot air balloon that was rigged, that was glowing in the dark from what a child would say.
He became the reluctant participant in an experience he'd never forget.
The heavy camels, the elite heavy camels, started swinging their swords in preparation of waiting for the hot air balloon to malfunction and fall to the ground.
That's right. They were just waiting to chop him.
Yeah, they were like training. They were like taunting him.
They're working themselves up to actually doing it.
Exactly.
They didn't want to do it, but they were prepared to do it.
And so that's when there was a small tick in the hot air balloon, and it started losing the hot air.
Uh-oh.
And the balloon part started ripping, and it started descending. And it got closer and closer until they all fought. But the zoo owner didn't know what was happening.
He thought they were welcoming him.
Mm-hmm. So, as soon as he hit the ground, he kissed one of the camels on the lips, but then realized it was an elite heavy camel.
So he became an elite kisser.
And so they started to attack him, and that's when he thought, well, that's going to be my last best kiss.
Yes. But they found out that he had a secret bad habit of summoning Bigfoot to things.
And that's when, you've all heard of the Yeti, you've heard of Sasquatch, but no one's ever heard of the Bigfoot that lives in the desert.
Because he's always sweaty.
Which his name is Sandsquatch.
Sandsquatch.
Yes. He runs around like a freak, and his feet actually like adapted to the sand. Because you know how you try to run in sand, right? And it kind of goes in the ground a little bit.
Right. He has really tiny little pointy ballet feet that across the top of the sand.
Yes. He never uses his ankles.
Never. That'd be just unheard of.
And that's when Bigfoot ran up, grabbed the zoo owner from being slashed from the elite heavy camels, and took him to the dollar store, where he met the cashier at the dollar store, which was Balupa waiting because he knew Bigfoot was going to come. And so he had already applied for the dollar store. He already got a job there. He'd already been trained. But he never actually got hired. He was an imposter. He
was the best imposter.
He was one of the best. He was better than Robbie Rotten. That's how good he was.
I miss him.
Bless his heart. And so he was the cashier at the dollar store.
And so when he saw Bigfoot come in with his prey, he locked the doors and turned the lights down. In other words, he was caught. The zoo owner was caught big time.
Yes, and he could tell he was given an unwelcome invitation to death, some might say.
And then, so Balupa took him back to the empty theater where the talent show had happened. But he had noticed that all the animals were gone except for the camels. And they all were wearing zebra print coats. And he knew what happened. It was if only what could have been said was taken back if he had just not kissed that camel. Maybe this wouldn't have happened to those poor zebras.
Yes. So they gave the owner this awfully big shoes to fill. They wanted him, in payment for all their troubles, they wanted the zoo owner to give them all of his monkeys, because the president wouldn't give Balupa his monkeys. So he wanted the monkeys from the zoo. But the zoo owner, he doesn't, just because the monkeys are on his zoo doesn't mean he owns them.
Give them over.
Exactly. They were owned by other people. So they were asking him such a big task that he couldn't himself just do.
He broke down into tears. Because he couldn't fulfill their wish.
And the zoo owner realized he was the person who was lost.
He needed to get out.
In a big camel world.
He needed to get out fast. So he joined the draft and became a soldier.
A soldier against the president of Africa to get monkeys.
So that he could pay the debt.
Exactly.
Because he needed to get on out.
So they found an abandoned building and turned it into a camp where they found an abandoned building that they used as camp on their camping trip. They didn't pack tents. They didn't pack anything else. They just tried to find an abandoned building, and thankfully they found one. I mean, in the desert, you're pretty lucky.
Places, right?
You're pretty lucky to
find
one.
It was Sasquatch's old house. And, the zookeeper, he was the kind of guy who would do whatever it takes. And so he crept up into Sasquatch's bedroom, and while he was sleeping, he wrapped a scarf around his mouth and choked Sasquatch until Sasquatch needed water. And that's when the camera came in and took a picture of Sasquatch's ghost. And
Sasquatch's ghost haunted the president
every night.
Throughout this entire thing, the president is being threatened and having ghostly encounters. And there was one day the president woke up and his clothes just don't fit that right.
And he was they were stretched by a ghost.
Yeah, a ghost of Sasquatch.
That's what happens. You have to irritate Sasquatch in his sleep to make the ghost come out.
So then, that's when the soldier, the once zoo owner, now soldier, that will do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
He then assaulted the president's establishment.
He assaulted him.
Took out all the guards. And that's when the president was in his fancy room, and he's like, "What's that smell?" It smells like the smell of
the astronaut.
Exactly.
It smells like burnt steak, and
because that's what the soldier did. He went up to space first
to get a meteor.
To get meteorites, he would, absorb the meteorites and send them towards the president's house. And one would say he was the world record holder in launching comets.
Rockets to
Earth, exactly.
Some would say he was in a bid for immortality.
That's what the fish was for.
It all comes back to
that's
the
the
fish.
whole thing that Balupa was trying to do. He was just trying to bid everyone for immortality.
He had lost sight of what he was searching so hard for. It wasn't until he saw this bumper sticker that had some really excellent advice on it, on getting back to what matters, selling those used cars and becoming a bad driver.
Yes. And so, all this, the president finally broke down
in tears
and gave Balupa all of the monkeys
he requested. And
that's when Balupa saw an identifiable face in the clouds. It was the young old man.
And he spoke in a voice that was like, "Sah!"
He said, "Last night before leaving town." But when he meant last night, he meant when Hurricane Katrina happened.
Because that's the last night he was in town before he died.
Before he died. He drowned.
He still thinks it's that day.
Yes,
he's dumb.
I mean, yeah.
He's really dumb.
His face is a young face, but his brain might not be so young.
He had the brain of a mail carrier.
So he told Balupa to sacrifice the monkeys to then let the elite camels free. So Balupa shoved the president after he gave him the monkeys off of a cliff.
Oh my gosh.
And then, but the president fell on a overly large gift, which was baby Sasquatch eggs.
One of them hatched, and inside was a department store Santa.
Yep, because that's where Santas come from.
Santas come from eggs, kids.
Sasquatches.
Sasquatch eggs. But it's a really delicate operation because they only have 6 months to live. So they have to live life to the fullest.
Exactly.
They can't crack the pail.
So, Balupa got the monkeys, did the deed, and the elite heavy camels were then free to go into all the zoos in the entire world. The armies also would take them because now they're like such a good commodity. The armies would use them in warfare, and Balupa then got such a big name for saving the elite heavy camels that everyone started watching his show.
He finally made it.
He finally made it big time. And no matter what the elites on the internet would do, they could not silence him.
His parents were so proud. Shmenga and Larry.
Yeah. He was up all night. He
never left the city.
He was up all night talking on
calling
the radio.
People who talk to radio shows.
Exactly.
He was one of them.
He was one of them. He was the biggest one.
He talked about kindergarten teachers and bookworms.
And he would stay up all night just talking about all this stuff, about the fish, about everything. But nobody still believed him.
The great quest he went on. It's just it wasn't real, you know? No one believed it.
So that's when he realized that television is broadcasting actual memories. And once he learned that, and once he just said all of his own personal memories, it made the show go in a bad direction.
Let's just say the reenactment of the monkeys was not a good part.
They didn't really approve that.
It wasn't really family friendly,
especially when there was kids. So he actually got jailed, but
he refused to leave the station. So they actually had to call in the security guards, and they beat him up for like 6 hours.
But they would let him go just so they could chase him again.
Right.
And so he basically had no time to rest. And so that's when he ended up on a boat going back to the Caribbean, and he just decided he was going to catch a bunch of fish and then bring it back and just hope for the best.
Hope he could fill one day his father's boots.
Yes, he was praying for a miracle.
Praying for a miracle, that he would be born wealthy.
Yes. And that is the story
of how he became a farmer.
A fish farmer.
Of life. And of youth.
Yes.
Camels everywhere.
Camels everywhere.
And that's the end of our story.
Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this story helped you learn something.
Our story next week, the boxer who had more than one job.
Farewell, everybody.
Bye!